Okay, let's be real for a sec. Have you ever felt like your finances are just a total mystery? Like, especially in your 20s. You're trying to figure out life and love and your career and everything, and suddenly everyone expects you to be like a financial guru on top of it all.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much pressure to have it all together when you're in your 20s, and finances are a huge part of that whole puzzle.
It's true. It can feel like you're constantly bombarded with advice from every direction, right? Save, invest, budgets. Like, okay, but where do we even begin?
Right.
Well, you've come to the right place because today we're diving deep into two books that offer some really practical guidance on exactly that.
We'll be looking at 26 Planur Kisase Tayo Mo, the money lecture I wish I had at 26, a book specifically aimed at, helping people in their 20s get on the right track financially. And we're also going to be taking a look at Platonic, How the Science of Attachment Can Help You Make and Keep Friends by Dr. Marisa G. Franco, which might seem a little out of left field.
I know, right? A book about friendship and a financial deep dive. But trust me, there's actually a fascinating connection there, and we're going to uncover it as we go along.
So yeah, this deep dive is all about giving you the tools and knowledge to take control of your finances and to understand how strong friendships can actually have a real impact on that journey.
I love that. So let's start with the foundation. 2016 Duges et Sacetai stresses the importance of setting clear saving goals. It's not just about, stuffing cash under your mattress. It's about really understanding what you're saving for, whether that's a down payment on your dream house or a trip around the world, or even just that peace of mind that comes from knowing you're prepared for, like, unexpected expenses.
Yeah, it's like having a financial compass that guides you and motivates you to stay on course.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Set those goals. I mean, the book suggests this thing called the pay yourself first strategy.
I love that strategy.
Me too. And it's as simple as it sounds. Basically, you automate a transfer to your savings account, like right after you get paid. So you treat it like a non-negotiable bill, a bill you pay to your future self.
Smart. It really takes the effort out of saving, right? You make it a priority right from the beginning.
Exactly. The book also suggests dividing up your savings into separate accounts for different goals. So it's kind of like giving each of your financial goals its own little compartment. One for emergencies, another for short-term goals like travel or that new phone you've had your eye on, and another for long-term investments.
That's a great visual, right? You can actually track your progress toward each goal, which makes saving feel much more tangible and less abstract. And speaking of making your money work for you, the book really highlights something that's super important. Simply keeping your cash in a savings account that pays almost no interest. It's not going to cut it, especially with inflation these days.
That's where investing comes into play, right? And 26 Gibanitis Aikino Quanti really emphasizes starting to invest early, like as early as your 20s.
I know investing can feel really intimidating for a lot of people, but this book does a fantastic job of breaking it down and making it feel accessible. It's not just for Wall Street.
For sure. The book focuses on those long-term investment strategies that are designed to be kind of, well, set it and forget it, like index funds, for example. And for anyone listening in Japan, it explains the benefits of the Tsumitate NISA system, which is basically a tax-efficient way to invest in those index funds. Kind of like a special savings account where your investments can grow tax-free. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect for young people who are just starting out. And the author makes this really interesting point. He says that doing nothing is actually a risk in itself. If you're holding on to cash, especially when interest rates are low, inflation is slowly but surely eating away at the value of that money year after year. It's almost like watching your money shrink.
It is, isn't it? It's a scary thought. But think about all the possibilities if you do start investing even a little bit now. With compound interest, even small amounts can really grow significantly over time. It's like planting a tiny seed that eventually grows into a giant tree.
Absolutely. It's about you time to your advantage, letting your money work for you instead of the other way around. Now, let's tackle something that can be a bit of a scary topic for a lot of people: debt. 2016 no Chibunyu Kesasitayo Ki no Ga really helps us understand the difference between what's considered good debt and what's considered bad debt.
And it's important to remember not all debt is created equal. This book doesn't hold back when it talks about revolving credit card payments. It shows how easily those can get out of control and, you can end up drowning in interest charges. The author has some examples in there that are pretty eye-opening. It makes you want to double-check your credit card statement ASAP.
It really does. It helps you understand the psychology, behind those little minimum payments and how they can turn into this long and painful cycle of debt.
So we've talked about saving, we've talked about investing. Now let's get into managing that day-to-day spending. And that's where budgeting comes in. 26 Semi Okasatai Taiokia offers some seriously practical tips for this. And it all starts with tracking your spending habits. It's amazing what you realize when you actually pay attention to where your money's going.
Totally. That's the foundation of mindful spending. And once you have a sense of where your money is going, you can actually start identifying areas where you might be overspending and make some adjustments. This book actually recommends categorizing your spending into consumption, waste, and investment. It's a really simple system, but it's super powerful for making more intentional choices about where your money goes.
I love that. And this next tip kind of surprised me. The book actually advises against being too cheap when it comes to rent.
I know, right? It sounds a little counterintuitive, but the author makes the argument that sometimes spending a bit more on an apartment, especially one that's in a really good location, can save you money and stress in the long run.
When you think about it, it makes sense. Like if you have a shorter commute, that means you have more time for yourself or even to work on a side hustle, which could boost your income. And being in a vibrant, well-connected neighborhood can open up all sorts of unexpected opportunities.
It's true. Plus, even if we're just talking about lifestyle, living in a place you love can make a big difference in your overall well-being. So yeah, it's not always about just pinching pennies. It's about looking at the big picture and how your choices fit into your overall goals and lifestyle.
Exactly. So don't just go for the cheapest option automatically. Really think about the value you're getting. Now let's shift gears a bit and think about those big life events that can have a big impact on our finances. Marriage, buying a house, starting a family. 2060 bunyu ke sastayuga na pasi really encourages us to start planning for these milestones early on.
It's so true. Putting aside even small amounts now can make a huge difference later when those expenses start to feel more, well, real.
And the book even dives into some specific financial products that are available in Japan that are designed for these different stages of life, like the new NISA system, which is designed to help parents save for their children's education in a way that's tax-advantaged.
Speaking of future planning, 26 Maikazi Bunyi Kesasitayobaka actually dedicates a lot of time to career development, and I think that's really smart because your earning potential plays a huge role in how you're able to build wealth.
I mean, yeah, of course, it makes total sense. But the book really stresses that it's not just about chasing the highest salary you can get right now. It's more about building marketable skills and a really strong foundation for long-term career growth. Like an investment in your own human capital, you know?
Yes, I love that way of putting it. And you know what? It's never too late for career changes or you go after new opportunities. In fact, your 20s are a great time to explore and figure out what really lights you up, what you're really passionate about.
It's all about staying adaptable and being open to new things and constantly learning and growing, right? Along those lines, the book also explores the world of side hustles and entrepreneurship.
Side hustles are so interesting.
I love that section of the book. It really encourages you to think about what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and find a side hustle that fits into your lifestyle. So maybe you're a fantastic writer or a graphic designer, or you love teaching.
Or maybe you make the best cookies in the world and you can sell them at the local farmer's market.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless. Turning your passion into a side hustle can not only bring in extra income, but it can also give you a creative outlet, teach you new skills, and give you valuable experience. It could even lead to a full-blown career change later on.
And the book even reminds us, especially those of us living in Japan, to make sure we're following the rules and regulations when it comes to side hustles. Understand the legal and tax implications.
Yeah, very important. Okay, get ready for this. 26 Mori Juke Sasayoki no Ki also stresses the importance of investing in yourself, not just in your bank account.
Investing in yourself. What does that even mean?
It might sound counterintuitive, but putting resources toward your personal and professional growth is a crucial part of building a fulfilling and successful life.
You mean like taking a class or joining a gym or reading books?
All of that and more. Think about it. Investing in courses, fitness activities, books, networking events, maybe even therapy or coaching. All of those things can expand your knowledge base, improve your health and well-being, and open up all sorts of new possibilities.
So it's about nurturing your mind, body, and spirit. I like that. Because ultimately, when you feel good, you're going to be better equipped to thrive in every area of your life, including, of course, your finances.
That's the idea. And the author actually suggests aiming to dedicate around 20% of your income to this kind of self-investment. It sounds like a lot, but the returns on that investment can last a lifetime.
Wow, 20%. Okay, I need to rethink my budget. So how do we take all of this amazing advice and put it into action? Well, 26 Nimige Sasatayo Kinago walks us through creating a personalized financial roadmap. It's like a GPS for your money.
I love that analogy. It's about getting from where you are now to where you want to be financially. Just like with a GPS, it all starts with plugging in your destination, in this case, your financial goals. And then you got to break that journey down into smaller steps that feel manageable. The book actually introduces this concept of a life event table, which is basically a visual representation of your financial needs at different stages of your life.
It's like a timeline that can help you anticipate those big expenses that might be coming up and make sure you're financially prepared for them. It takes that whole abstract idea of financial planning and makes it much more concrete and easier to follow. Okay, are you ready for the big reveal? The link between having great friendships and thriving financially. This is where Platonic, How the Science of Attachment Can Help You Make and Keep Friends, comes in.
I know it might seem like a Todd pairing, but the research on this is fascinating. Strong friendships can actually act as a buffer against financial stress and even lead to better financial decision-making.
Because when you think about it, when you're facing financial challenges, having a strong support network can make all the difference. Your friends can offer encouragement, advice, or even just a listening ear, which helps you feel less alone and more empowered to deal with those tough times.
And we all know that stress can lead to those impulsive decisions, especially when it comes to money. Having friends to talk to brainstorm solutions with, even just to vent to, it can help you stay grounded and make more rational choices.
It's true. It's like having this built-in support system to help you weather whatever financial storms come your way. And remember how we talked about self-investment? Well, nurturing your friendships is a form of self-investment. It's an investment in your well-being. And when you feel good, you're more likely to make smart financial decisions.
I love that. It's a win-win, right? Strong friendships lead to more resilience, which leads to better financial decision-making, which leads to less stress, which leads to greater financial security.
It's a beautiful cycle, so investing in those friendships is good for you on every level. And it reminds us that our financial journey isn't something we have to do alone. We're all interconnected, and supporting each other's well-being, both financial and emotional, can create this ripple effect of positive change.
I love that. So before we jump into part two, where we're going to dive even deeper into the insights from Platonic, let's take a minute to reflect on this. How have your friendships influenced your financial decisions, either positively or negatively? Something to think about as we continue our exploration.
It's really interesting how both of these books, even though they're about such different topics, both emphasize the power of taking action. You can read all the books in the world about personal finance, but it won't do you any good unless you actually, apply it.
You're totally right. It's like reading a cookbook over and over, but never actually cooking anything.
Exactly. 26 goes beyond just theory. It lays out these clear steps that you can start taking today. Remember the pay yourself first strategy we talked about? Like setting up that automatic transfer to your savings account right after payday? That's something you can do today.
I love that. It's such a simple change, but it can make a huge difference in your overall financial habits. And if you're feeling kind of lost or overwhelmed or unsure where to start, don't be afraid to ask for help. A financial advisor could be a great resource. But even just talking to a friend who's good with money, someone you trust, can give you some valuable insights and encouragement.
And that's a perfect example of how those strong platonic relationships can really make a difference. A true friend isn't going to judge you for your financial struggles. They'll be there to support you and offer a fresh perspective.
Speaking of support, let's dive a little deeper into Platonic and explore the science behind why these strong friendships are so crucial, especially when we're dealing with financial challenges. Dr. Franco explains how our attachment styles, which are formed when we're kids, can actually have a big influence on our adult relationships, including our friendships.
It's pretty fascinating how those early experiences can shape our patterns of behavior in relationships, like how we approach intimacy and connection.
For example, if you have what's called an anxious attachment style, you might find yourself constantly seeking reassurance from your friends, or you might worry about being abandoned. And that can create a lot of, well, stress and drama in your relationships.
And then on the flip side, if you have an avoidant attachment style, you might struggle with being vulnerable. You might push people away, even if deep down you really crave that connection.
It's kind of like a self-protection mechanism, but it can actually prevent those friendships from really blossoming. But the good news is Platonic actually offers some really concrete strategies for recognizing these patterns and creating those healthier, more fulfilling friendships, no matter what your attachment style is.
And one of the key takeaways for me was the importance of vulnerability in friendships. It's about having the courage to show your true self, warts and all, and trusting that your friends will accept you and support you for who you are.
I can see how that can be really challenging, especially if you've been hurt or betrayed in the past. But the book makes a really compelling case for how Vulnerability can actually be transformative for your relationships.
It's about creating this safe space where you can be authentic and genuine without feeling judged. And when you show that vulnerability, you actually give your friends permission to do the same, which creates this amazing sense of mutual trust and understanding.
And that trust is crucial, not just for emotional support, but also when you're navigating those financial challenges we've been talking about. Can you imagine going through a job loss or having some huge unexpected expense without a supportive network to lean on?
It would be so isolating and overwhelming having those friends you can confide in to help you brainstorm solutions or even just to be there to listen when you need to vent. It makes a world of difference.
It really does. It's about sharing the burden both emotionally and sometimes even practically. And Platonic also reminds us that support is a two-way street. It's not just about receiving it, it's about giving it freely and generously.
So true. Check in on your friends, offer to help when you see they're struggling, and celebrate their wins like they were your own. Even those small acts of kindness can go a long way in strengthening those bonds.
Okay, let's talk about something that can be a little tricky in friendships. Anger and conflict.
Yeah, conflict, it's bound to happen. I mean, disagreements are just part of life, and friendships are no exception.
I think a lot of us have a tendency to avoid conflict, especially in our friendships. We don't want to upset anyone or risk damaging the relationship.
I totally get that. It's a natural reaction. But Dr. Franco actually makes the argument that suppressing your anger can actually be more harmful than expressing it in a healthy way. It can lead to resentment and passive aggressiveness and even, a breakdown in communication.
Right, it's like that pressure cooker analogy. If you keep letting that pressure build, eventually it's going to explode, and it's going to be way worse than if you would just address the issue in the first place.
Exactly. And Platonic actually offers some great strategies for handling conflict in a constructive way. One technique I found really helpful is using I statements to express your feelings without, blaming the other person. So, for example, instead of saying, you always cancel on me at the last minute, you could say something like, I feel hurt and disappointed when our plans change unexpectedly.
That's a great example. It really shifts the focus, right? Instead of attacking the other person, you're just expressing your own experience.
And it's a much more compassionate approach that encourages understanding instead of defensiveness.
The book also emphasizes active listening, you know, really trying to understand the other person's perspective, even if you don't agree with them.
It's that classic advice, right? Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
And conflict doesn't always have to be a bad thing, does it? If it's handled well, it can actually strengthen the friendship by leading to a deeper understanding and more empathy and even clearer boundaries.
For sure. It's an opportunity for growth and for a deeper connection.
Okay, get ready for this. Platonic actually makes this fascinating connection between generosity and friendship.
What's interesting is that generosity isn't just about giving material things. It's about giving your time, your attention, your support, your kindness.
It's about showing up for your friends in ways that are meaningful to them.
Exactly. And research actually shows that generosity is contagious. When you're generous towards your friends, they're more likely to be generous towards you.
It's like this beautiful cycle of support and reciprocity, and it strengthens the friendship and brings more joy and abundance into both of your lives.
It's a win-win situation, and it doesn't have to be these grand gestures. Sometimes it's those small acts of kindness that make the biggest difference, like offering to babysit, helping a friend move, or just being there to listen when they need someone to talk to.
And let's not forget that generosity can actually play a role in our financial lives as well.
Absolutely. Like, how about offering financial support to a friend who's starting a business? Or maybe you could pool resources with friends to invest in something you're all passionate about.
You could even start a little investment club with your friends or support each other's entrepreneurial dreams.
The possibilities are endless. When you combine that financial savvy with generous hearts, you can really make a difference.
I love that. And this next part really spoke to me. Platonic addresses this common fear that a lot of us have, the fear that if we show our true selves, our flaws and vulnerabilities, we'll scare people away and ruin our friendships.
I know that fear. It's like we're afraid that if people really knew us, they wouldn't like us.
And we end up putting on this mask, right? Hiding our vulnerabilities, trying to present this perfect image. But the truth is, those deep connections can only happen when we let our guard down and allow ourselves to be seen, imperfections and all.
It's about embracing that authenticity and vulnerability.
And Dr. Franco says that when you do that, when you show your true self, you actually give your friends permission to do the same. It creates this space where everyone feels safe and accepted. And that's where those genuine connections can really blossom.
It's like saying, hey, I trust you enough to let you see the real me. And that kind of trust can take a friendship to a whole new level.
Of course, it's important to be mindful of who you choose to open up to. Start with friends who have proven that they're trustworthy and supportive.
Exactly. You don't have to share your deepest secrets with everyone you meet, but with the right people, that vulnerability can be incredibly powerful.
And here's another point the book makes that I found really interesting. Suppressing anger in friendships can actually be more damaging than expressing it in a healthy way.
It seems so counterintuitive, doesn't it? We're taught to avoid conflict.
I know, especially in friendships. But when you think about it, if you're constantly holding back and bottling up your feelings, that resentment can really build up over time.
And it can start to poison the relationship, right? It can lead to passive aggressiveness, distance, even a complete breakdown in communication.
Platonic encourages us to rethink how we view conflict. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. If you handle it in a constructive way, it can actually make the friendship stronger.
It's about having those tough conversations, but doing it with respect and empathy, listening to each other's perspectives, and then, finding a solution that works for everyone.
It's like clearing the air and coming out of the conflict with a stronger understanding of each other.
Exactly. And that understanding can actually deepen the sense of trust and intimacy in the friendship.
Now let's shift gears and talk about a quality that I think is like a magnet for friendships: generosity.
It's true. Generous people just seem to attract more friends.
And generosity isn't just about giving money, is it? It's about giving your time, your energy, your support, your kindness.
It's about being there for your friends in whatever way they need you, celebrating their successes, offering a helping hand when they're struggling, just showing them that you care.
And it's those little acts of kindness, those thoughtful gestures, those moments of genuine care that can make such a difference.
And the best part is generosity is contagious. When you're generous towards others, they tend to be more generous towards you.
It's like a win-win situation for everyone involved.
And we can't forget about the financial aspect of generosity.
That's right. Think about how you can support your friends financially, maybe by helping them launch a business or maybe pooling resources together to invest in a passion project.
Or even just offering to help a friend who's going through a tough time financially.
When you combine financial smarts with a generous heart, amazing things can happen.
It's about using your resources to make a positive impact.
So, dear listeners, remember that financial freedom isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about having the freedom to live a life that aligns with your values, your passions, your purpose.
It's about building a life that feels rich and meaningful, and surrounding yourself with people who love and support you.
And the amazing thing is, those strong friendships can actually help you achieve both financial security and genuine happiness.
It's this incredible synergy that can transform your life.
So nurture those friendships, invest in yourself, and remember that true wealth is about so much more than money. As we wrap up part 2, I want to leave you with this question to ponder. What's one small act of generosity you can do for a friend this week? Maybe just send a thoughtful text, offer to help with something, or simply listen with your whole heart. It's amazing to me how these two things we've been talking about, personal finance and friendship, how they're actually so connected.
It's a connection that's so easy to miss, but it makes totally sense, right? Think about it. Relationships, they touch every part of our lives, and our finances are no exception.
Yeah, you're right. Both of these books really encourage us to take this holistic view. It's not just about making as much money as possible, but about building a life that feels rich and meaningful on every level.
Exactly. And Platonic really drives that point home. It's like, hey, strong friendships, those aren't just some nice bonus. They're essential to our well-being. And you know what? That ripples out and touches our finances too.
It's like having a secret weapon for your financial journey. Solid friendships, they can help us through those tough times, help us make better decisions, and ultimately help us reach our goals.
So true. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, let's recap some of the key takeaways, shall we? What really stood out to you?
Well, I've got to say, the thing about defining your saving goals from 26 that was a big one for me. Like, it's not just about saving for the sake of saving. It's about having a vision, a clear purpose for that money. That's what keeps you motivated.
Absolutely. And all those practical tips for managing debt, like stay away from those revolving credit card payments, pay those off as fast as you can. And remember, good debt versus bad debt, it's not all the same.
So important. And you know what? That breakdown of the Tamitanisa system, that was really eye-opening. It's such a great way for young people to start investing, especially when you consider how compound interest works over time.
Yeah, take advantage of time, let that money work for you. And don't forget, investing in yourself, that's important too. Whether it's taking a class or working on your fitness or reading books or even going to therapy, nurturing yourself, that pays off in every area of your life.
It really does. And who could forget that fascinating link between strong friendships and, thriving financially? I mean, who knew?
Well, Platonic really gives us that roadmap for how to create and maintain those strong connections. Be vulnerable, learn how to handle those conflicts constructively, and be brave enough to let people see the real you.
And don't forget about generosity. Be generous with your time, your support, your kindness. Those little things, they make a big difference, both financially and emotionally.
So, as you're working towards your financial goals, remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who support you, who cheer you on.
And nurture those friendships, invest in yourself, and build a life that's full of meaning and joy.
I love that. And here's a final thought from Platonic to leave you with. What's one small thing you can do today to strengthen a friendship?
Could be a quick text, a phone call, maybe an invitation to hang out. You never know the ripple effect that one small action might create in your life, and that includes your finances.
Until next time, happy diving.